All right, we'll call the meeting to order. Please stand for the Pledge of Allegiance. Pledge of
Allegiance to the flag of the United States of America and to the republic for which it stands, one nation, under God, indivisible, with liberty and justice for all.
We have a couple additions to the agenda. Under consent agenda, you can see those highlighted. Action discussion, item G, consider approval of bids for snow removal and dust washing. Is there a motion to approve the agenda? I make the motion. Kelly? Good.
That's good.
Is there a second? Chad, all those in favor?
Aye.
Opposed? Passes. Approval of the minutes. A, consider the approval of the minutes of school board meeting October 20th.
I make the motion to accept.
Carl, is there a second?
No second.
All those in favor?
Aye.
Opposed? Consider the approval of school board minutes from November 8th. Krista, is there a second?
Go ahead.
Chad? All those in favor?
Aye.
Opposed? Consent agenda. Is there a motion to approve the consent agenda? I'll make a motion. Molly, is there a second? Okay, all those in favor? Aye. Opposed? Community reports. Highlights and recognitions.
You want to share that?
Mhm.
Couple things.
We had Miss Tammy O'Connor, our fourth grade teacher, recently went to the Legion. And she wrote up, or she sent out what she would like us to say. On behalf of the Lyle School, we would like to thank the Legion, Lyle Legion Post 105 for the generous monetary donation. Your donation of $6,000 for the book vending machine demonstrates your commitment to all of the student body. We are looking forward to promoting literacy and character development. In addition, thank you for your donation of $500 for the Veterans Day breakfast. This donation will help us fund future breakfasts. This is truly one of my favorite days. We appreciate your service and dedication to our country and Lyle School. Thank you, Miss O'Connor.
Awesome.
And then we also had at our Veterans Day assembly that we had the breakfast and the assembly. Miss O'Connor helped organize all of the assembly herself, and then Miss Rice, our preschool teacher, she helped organize and cook the breakfast, and heard raving things about. Actually, I did try the breakfast too. It was really, really good. So thank you to both of them. And we gave out some awards that day at the assembly. So we had a community member of the year. It was a dual award. It went out to two. It was Danielle Frank and Alex Block were our recipients. The Lyle Lion of the year went out to our nurse, Barb Gosley, and then teacher of the year went out to our first grade teacher, Michelle Frank.
I love that. That was awesome.
I was excited about that.
Any other? No? No public comments?
No,
You heard? No?
nothing.
School board committee updates, negotiations.
We're done.
We're done.
Contract is in your board packet.
That was good. Legacy committee. So we actually met last night for the first time in person. And on Zoom, there was Zoom too. But it was awesome because we had new people show up and it was so nice. Great ideas. We're already looking at, well, the first weekend of December, we have the big youth basketball tournament. So that's the first thing. Then on December 11th, did you hear about this today at all, or?
Yes, I'm just
Okay.
I can't be there.
Oh, really?
Mhm.
Oh, shoot. Okay. So our thought on December 11th is to do a pajama night where the kids come in and we'll have like cookies to frost. And they'll do a little craft. Yeah.
Mhm.
And then we'll have some special readers that will read to the kids.
Yeah.
So, yeah, little wedding. Really?
Mhm.
That's amazing. But anyways, it'll be fun. So,
That didn't work out.
and then we're looking at January doing a movie night. So
Good.
Just, yeah,
Like here in the gym
Yep.
or in the multipurpose room?
yep, yep. Doing
With
a
a
movie
screen
night.
or a
Screen.
blow up or?
Screen, yeah, so, anyway, so it's exciting, yeah.
I can see the excitement in when you're bringing this up.
I know,
I
it's
know, I'm
so
excited.
nice to see people again, and, yeah, everyone's just ready to do stuff.
So then,
No.
so at the beginning of the year, the list of people that we had like interest in legacy, that most of
There were
them,
some, yeah,
Good.
yep,
okay,
yeah,
that's awesome.
yeah, and some other ones too, so it was really good.
Awesome.
Otherwise, that's it, yeah. Community ed. Yeah, that-
Mm-mm.
And we need to start because we're
Meeting.
supposed to meet 4 times a year at a minimum, so we gotta get on that.
I'll schedule a date.
Schedule 4 of them
In December?
between now and June.
Okay.
Roger that.
Finance committee,
We have not met.
okay, LPAC,
I don't think
We
we,
have not met since last time, have we?
I don't think so.
I think there was just maybe some communication for new coaches, right? Junior high coaches, I think.
I
Or
think
was that
Maya
even-
Bauer was probably the
Yeah, I
one
think
who's
she was
most
the
of them
only one, maybe.
afterwards.
I think it was about Maya.
Yeah. Facilities,
Have not met.
library,
That has not been met, but Teresa is working on scheduling a date here soon.
okay. SMEC,
Just the update that everyone gets. We haven't met in person or Zoom.
One thing that was brought up is that I'm gonna wait on that one.
Okay.
Sorry.
That's fine.
I'll go to the board first.
okay, financial report, Bradley,
Mm.
You're on mute.
Sure can.
Okay, financial reports in your packet. Number 1 is our budget to actual report, and I'll try to make it large enough where it's amazing. The bigger the TV is, you can't see anything on it. Yeah. If you want to look at it, you gotta, like stand underneath the TV and then you can see it. So revenues at this point are actually looking pretty good. I slightly dismayed. We are semi-monthly payment from the state. We got a goose egg for November 15th, so that might have something to do with why we're a little bit ahead on our state revenues from where we've been before. But good news is we got enough cash, so we're okay. We're not paycheck to paycheck on that front. And November really is a much more interesting month when I get to talk about that next month than October in terms of revenues. But looking at our expenses, we're just cooking right along in comparison to our budget. We've got later in our agenda to approve the teacher's contract. And once I get those new numbers plugged in, then I'll start working on a revised budget, because that'll change a few things here and there once we make retroactive payments for folks. So, but for now, it looks really good compared to what I budgeted. Really kind of been a bit of a straightforward year on that front. Sites and buildings will do a big jump up on next month's report, because we did pay the bill for the caulking project. So that one will stick out, but for now, not much sticking out there. Looking at our expenditures by object, again, looking pretty solid in comparison to our previous years. So any questions on any of those? All right, I'll keep cooking here. We've got food service, community ed, debt service, and custodial. Again, November is just a more interesting month, but debt service, we at our last meeting approved our bond refunding. So we got $4 million in cash that's now sitting there waiting for January, when we'll pay off the existing bonds. Not earning much, but earning what I can get. So But again, that'll be on your reports next month. Other than that, I think same stuff that I've been saying month after month in terms of community service and food service. So I guess food service looks a little better than what some other times it might. So that's good news. So I'll flip over to the treasurer's report here. Really flat month from a cash perspective. I've been able to you know, kind of splash some money around into some investments here and there. As I've said, the interest rates are just terrible. So if I can get 0.1%, that's glorious. That's really just not out there. You know, as a government, we've got a lot of limits on what we can invest in. And honestly, even if I had fewer limits, I'm not taking this money and playing the stock market with it. So but that's about the only place to go to make any money right now. So anything that's safe, CDs, bonds, whatever, the rates are just terrible. So yeah, payments. Also, I flipped through this one this morning, and also not very exciting this month. So if there was anything that jumped off the page at me here. Middle of the second page of that, Heineman, about $5,000. That's curriculum. Heineman is the company that owns Houghton Mifflin. Guys might remember that from textbooks when you were kids. But all of those companies seem to all be owned by Heineman now. So everybody about 3 textbook companies left in the world, it seems like. There's McGraw Hill. Yeah, so there's the other one. We got them both.
That's fine.
Yeah, Wayne's Repairs on there on the 3rd page. So it's a big check, but that's about 4 months worth of repairs. So we're doing
Just 4? Well, not around there.
What are we doing 4 months for? It used to be
How did the candle fundraiser go? How did that go? Good. Like,
I bought a lot.
good.
To the crowd, that was a thumbs up.
Awesome. Yeah.
I've got 2 of them in my car.
I thought those were for my dog.
Yes, I enjoyed it.
Do what?
You want to try it in the spring.
Oh, there you go.
Ooh,
Yeah.
nice day.
It was a hit, so I hope it's gonna do it again.
They're so nice. I love this one.
So that's what I got on payments.
That's it?
Yeah.
All right. There's no questions for Bradley. Is there a motion to approve the financials?
One second.
No, all those in favor?
I,
Opposed? Motion passes. Reports and presentations. Jamie?
All right, a couple things. Earlier, I don't know if it was in a board meeting, but one of you mentioned about the emails from MSBA. So after the election, I have to update information and notice that some of you had personal emails, so maybe that was the reason why you were not getting in there. That wasn't anything you did wrong, but we probably put your personal emails in there. So I updated those. So in the school email, you might be getting stuff from MSBA now. Okay, so I updated that. Speaking of MSBA, throw this out there, January 13th and 14th is the concert. That'd be great.
I wish.
That'd
I'd be signing me up, man.
enticing. Conference. At this point, I need to speak with some other soups to see if it's worthy of my time to go on up there. I think some of them will say absolutely, and some will say, well, it all depends. So I don't know if this is something, if you guys want me to go to attend. I don't like being gone, so I just was gone. So, but this is open for you guys as well. So if any of you interested in going,
What were the dates again?
13th and 14th of January. I don't even know what day of the week that is, actually. No,
Thursday,
Friday,
Friday.
Thursday,
Yep,
Friday.
Thursday,
Okay.
Friday.
So, if you want to look at that, I'll have that here if you want to take a look at that. Otherwise, I can send it, any information in there about it too. So, speaking of me being gone, I just want to thank you guys, the district, and the staff, specifically Corey, for allowing me the opportunity to go to DC with my family last week. There was only a 15-minute delay in the airport, so that was usually I was actually expecting not to be here on Tuesday, to be honest with you. Just that's the way it travels for me. But again, I was gone for the DC, the tomb reunion. It was actually it was awesome for the family to take part, and humbling for me to be there. The 100th anniversary of such a historic event. So I appreciate the opportunity to go to that. The personnel wise, we have posted the behavioral interventionists and middle school interventionists. Those are positions that would be paid for with the ESSER 3 grant. We're still, we did get a reply from them saying tweak this. So the three of us have to respond and get that back, but we expect that to be fully funded, and these positions will be very critical to the success of our school and students. So we have received one applicant so far, but so hopefully we'll get more in the coming days and weeks. Bradley and I will be, pending approval of the teacher contract, Bradley and I will be working with Bill Smith on his contract as the AD. We did negotiate to have that pulled for that. So that'll be along those same lines as our confidential assistants and nurse, so that there'll be a separate contract for him. And then we do have the night custodian posted. Melvin is filling in as best as he can. Tarek is doing a superb job of staying late some nights just to get some extra stuff done. So kudos to him. Last month, I talked about the possibly looking at adjusting our schedule based on the second quarter. Actually, it ended up being actually significant, but in the grand scheme of things, rather minor to what was going on. Met with the leadership team, Corey and I, and we came up with a plan that and actually the leadership my idea was kind of down. It's like that we don't really, it may not work, but we came up with a better one. So appreciate the leadership team, and basically the focus really on the supervisory periods that's in the schedule, and really focusing on needs in certain classrooms, elementary, focusing on specific students who need the needs they need in the high school and middle school. So actually it ended up being a better idea than I had. And then my last thing, the caulking project is complete. It's paid for. I approved it yesterday or today for Bradley to pay it. We did have a rainstorm last week while I was gone. And Tarek informed me that in one of the rooms, the water did come in again. But he called and Surdy was out here. Surdy came out here immediately, did some more work on the outside of the room. They said next time it rains, let us know if it works or not. And if it's not, we'll come out. Being it's November, it probably won't be till the spring.
Right.
Tarek did mention that to him and they said, don't worry about it. We will come out. So it's been a big positive for them that they've been very supportive, willing to come out. So it was a good decision on that, the company we went with. So we'll see how, hopefully it took care of it, but they basically took that window and expanded some of the other things. So hopefully we're gonna win that battle eventually. Or the war. So
You were great too, because at the end of the school day, when the kids were leaving for dismissal, they stopped their work so that nothing would drop on them as the little kids are walking past. So that was really
Oh,
good.
Yeah,
Because they were right in front of the buses.
okay.
so.
Good.
You did a really good job. I went around and watched it. Very impressed with the truck work and stuff. They ground it right down to a fresh surface. And
Yeah.
yeah, very nice job.
Yep, and the color was actually perfect and,
I think that'll lighten up too a little bit.
yeah, so,
And that personalized service was one of the things that we really appreciated out of the proposal.
yes.
So I'm glad that they're following through on that.
Yeah.
That's good.
So that's all I have. Great.
So our elementary student council last week, they did the kickoff for the Caps for a Cause, which we haven't been able to do for a while. So that was really exciting. They raised a lot of money. I think it was $150 they raised the first week. So they're excited about that, and they're going to be doing it again every month with something different. So the second Tuesday of the month, I believe is what it is. They also had a food donation for the food drive, or a food drive that would go over to the food shelf at our Saviors. And I went with yesterday, and it was unbelievable to see. The shelves unfortunately were bare, and our senior class went later and organized it, and they are full. So that was awesome to see, and that was just 1 week's worth of a drive. So that was really exciting to see. We have elementary student conferences this week. We are not holding kindergarten conferences just because of some changes that have taken place. We don't feel like that is appropriate. So parents have already been notified of that. So it'll just be 1-5. Sixth grade does have school on Friday because they did their conferences with the middle school. So they will have school. We have some new paras that have started working in our building, and I just want to give kudos to them because they have just jumped right in. And it honestly, one of them just started this week, and you would think she's been here this whole year already. So we've had a couple that have recently started, and they just dove right in. So this is definitely a calling. And then I'm actually going to piggyback off of what Jamie was talking about with our specials teachers. They've been going in, so some of them have created documents that they're sharing with the classroom teachers, and just kind of sharing, like some students might need some additional supports in the morning. And so it's not like a conversation that has to be had verbally in front of anyone. Like it's a document that they can take notes and see and keep working on. And it's been awesome to see, because we have some that are coming up with new ideas, creative ideas that classroom teachers have just tried different things, and now it's a new set of eyes. So it's awesome to see this. And they already know all the kids because they have them in specials. So I just wanted to biggie. That's all I have. I'm sure there's more, but I got brain fog.
That's good. Thank you. Thanks, Cory. Items for action and discussion. A, consider the approval of the certified teacher contract for school year 21-23.
So we do have the contract in your board packet there. We've also got a summary prepared of all the things if you want to hear about it. So
Yes,
that you,
I do.
all right. So the summary doesn't leave. Yeah. So the biggest thing that's a change in the contract is that we've reworked the number of steps in the contract and stretched the dollars. There's a bigger emphasis on master's level completion. So when it comes down to actually calculating things, there's some folks more than some others have some pretty sizable increases in the first year. The total dollars comes out, in a very manageable place. So that's the hope is to have a more a schedule that gets you to a better salary faster. So and then encourages that expanded education, which allows us to do fancy things like concurrent enrollment classes that can be taught here rather than sending folks off to Riverland. So that's the biggest changes in the salary schedule. Moving on to health insurance, we've gotten 2 pretty sizable increases in health insurance each of the last 2 years. So starting January 1 of 2021 was, I believe, a 9.8% increase in health insurance costs. And January 1, 2022, I believe, is a 9.2. So just kind of hammered 2 years in a row. So we have moved the needle a fair amount on our district contributions to try to compensate for that. So for a single, we've moved from $542 up to $600 as a monthly contribution. And we moved the family contribution up to $1,550. We historically have had the dates of those changes line up with our plan year, which is a calendar year. So those change goes into effect for the starting January 1st. And then another change the following January 1st adds another $50 on the single to bring it up to $650, and another $100 on the family to bring it up to $1,650. One other piece we threw in, because the rates have changed so dramatically, is that we've added an additional increase for September 1st through December 31st of this year. So we typically haven't addressed that time period with a new contract. It's always been part of the previous contract. So we have bumped up the rates for those 4 months as well to match up with the newly negotiated rate. On top of that, I've got a couple of language things that I've put in related to health insurance that are going to lay some groundwork for the future. So number one is health savings accounts are now going to be employer sponsored. We have a plan, currently have one employee on it, and I now have a second one that signed up. We will pay the fees for that on a monthly basis. Actually really cheap right now. It's $1 per month per person with no minimum, which is, I can't believe it's that cheap. So it's been basically no big deal at all to take that on, but it's a really frustrating thing as an employee. If you're putting in $50 and the first dollar goes off to the HSA provider. So we're taking care of that piece. The other language that we added is that in the event that the actual cost of health insurance premiums drop below what the district has agreed to contribute, then we will contribute into a health savings account, the difference. So January 2023, we're up to $650 per month. That level would have covered the premiums in 2019. And now we've gone up 10%, 9%, and another 9%. So 650 doesn't cut it anymore. But if the world comes to its senses and health insurance premium rates can come back down, either because the insurance companies have been overestimating how much COVID's going to cost, or because COVID stops costing so much, perhaps we'll get back to that place. So maybe we'll see a premium be $643. I hope it's not that close, because then I'm going to be contributing a really small, annoying amount every month. But in theory, that's what the language will allow us to do. So the employees can look at that benefit, and it's that much benefit, regardless of whether whatever the premium costs are. So obviously, next contract, we'll keep negotiating and we'll see what health insurance rates do then. So stepping to the next piece here, there's a severance provision that we've had in the contract for a very long time. We modified it 4 years ago, and we're modifying it again. So what we had in there from 4 years ago was that we were going to pay $65 per day up to 185 days if they had that many days accumulated of sick leave. And we were offsetting that with district contributions to 403B accounts. So for the idea of that language was that over time, it would phase out that benefit and essentially replace it with more money for the teachers over time, because we'd be contributing that much money and more. And then those dollars would be allowed to grow over time in their 403B accounts. with the rearrangement of the salary schedule, there were certain employees that were not as well advantaged as some others. And so we tweaked this severance language in a way that will benefit that small group of people. And put in a hard date to cut off this benefit. So anyone hired after September 1st, 2005 won't qualify for that anymore. It's essentially no impact for anybody that's after that date anyway, because they would have had enough 403B contributions to offset it under the old language. So we basically just changed the sunset of that provision a little bit to help out a few people that didn't get a good raise when a lot of other people did. So we'll continue to monitor that. And I'm always nervous about any early retirement incentive, because sometimes you use an early retirement incentive to encourage somebody to retire early, that you want to retire early. And sometimes someone takes it that you'd rather not retire early. So I always find it to be dangerous language to have in a contract. So we're phasing that out one way or the other there. So couple smaller changes. We have a number of spots in the contract where we have numbers scattered about, we pay out for extra sick days and extra personal days when someone reaches a cap. So that number before was $65 per day. We raised that to $70. We have another spot that we had previously paid $30 an hour for homework help, summer school, if we had a driver's ed program, those kinds of things, extra hours above and beyond the contract. We raised that number from $30 to $40. That's a very large percentage increase. One of the reasons we did that was that we are going to have a lot of things that we're going to be asking people to do. A lot of these federal grants are targeting out of school experiences, summer school experiences, the kinds of things that are extra hours, extra above the contract things. So we want to give people every reason to say yes to doing that work. So it's an ongoing challenge to incentivize people to do that. It's taking time out from their families and from the things that they choose to do with their lives. So we've bumped that pay by a good chunk there. So another retirement piece that we changed here, there's been a clause in the contract for some time that an early retiree gets a monthly payout into a HRA, which is called a health reimbursement arrangement account. Those accounts can be used to pay premiums or to pay out-of-pocket costs. That amount has been $700 per month, and that's been that amount for a really long time. And that was a pretty sweet deal back when the premiums cost $505. Not such a sweet deal now that the premiums cost about $700. So we raised that one up $50 to make sure that that payment would at least cover the cost of the premiums for those folks that are on that benefit. One of the things I've done the whole time I've been here is try to push retirement savings. So we've increased the 403B contribution again up to $130 per month for the first year of the contract and $140 per month on the second year of the contract. Then we get down to Schedule C, which is our extracurricular activities. We quite the laundry list of changes on there. We haven't really messed with it much in either the last two negotiating sessions 2 years ago or 4 years ago. So we increased the number of dollars per unit. So we measure all of that by units. We increased that from 380 to 430. for reference, that number hasn't moved in at least 6 years. I'm not sure how many more before that. I didn't go full contracts from 2015 and 2013 to check, but it's been a long time. So we raised that one by $50 per unit. Jamie mentioned that we've got to get ourselves a contract for Bill Smith because we pulled the athletic director out of there. We just felt like that payment structure just did not work for that position. In order to get enough comp for the amount of work that it does, we're talking about, instead of that being, it used to be 12 units, we're talking about making that 48 units or 50 units or something like that to try to line up the amount of work. And it just would look ridiculous in that schedule. And so getting that out of there and letting us negotiate directly makes a ton of sense. And it also allows us to kind of elevate that position to be more of an administrator and less of a, hey, this is something you just do after school kind of thing. So other changes, we changed up the way that music concerts are compensated. There's now 1 unit per event that can either be for 1 music teacher or for 2 music teachers to share, depending on how those concerts are structured. We increased the DC trip and the international trip to be 2 units apiece. I think the DC trip was 1 and the international trip was only a half a unit before, and that fundraising one comes with a lot of headaches. So it's multiple fundraisers as well. So we increased those. Homecoming dance is now a unit. Prom is now 2 units. Anybody who's ever been to prom or been involved in prom in any way knows that that carries headaches that really have nothing to do with the event and have everything to do with parents. We raised Eagle Bluff up to 2 units. And we increased the winter pet band to 1 unit. We increased the track positions. I believe there were 9 units and 6 units before, and now they're at 10 and 7. Rationale on that one is that we've actually cut a lot out of our track over the last few years, and it's a co-ed team, and it's got all sorts of different events, and there's only 2 paid coaches to cover all of it. So it tends to be more kids, it's co-ed, it's more events. So we felt like that needed a little bump there. And keep in mind, I'm negotiating with a guy who's been the softball coach. So and he agreed that was a spot we needed to make a move there. We split homecoming dance and homecoming coronation into separate lines as well. So that can be done by different people or separate people, whatever. They're each their own animal. And if one person does a whole bunch of things, great. But it can be done by separate people if necessary. So I missed one.
It's actually 0.5 in that.
Oh, sorry. The homecoming
Homecoming
dance is a 0.5, not a 1. Then the last bit I'll touch on, and then I'll let you guys ask questions. In response to the relatively fresh, but not like in the last year, but e-learning is a statutory element that was added, I want to say about 5 or 6 years ago. But on a snow day, we under statute can now say, all right, everybody, you're not coming into school today, but we're going to do distance learning today. Get your assignments from, and work on them at home. Teachers, you're available online. Here's your hours. put together a plan for that. The state allows us to have up to 5 days for that. So we've got now hard coded into the language that the first 2 snow days of the year will still do as traditional snow days. That will allow for planning, allow for kind of that awkward early season blizzard that throws everybody off, and you know, you weren't planning on an e-learning day on, you know, tomorrow. If we have a blizzard coming, I don't think we do, but it takes care of that element of it, and you got those 2 days, say, okay, now let's make sure we're prepared for the next one for e-learning. So after those 2 days, the next 5 days are e-learning. After that, if there's even more snow days after that, we'll make those up for the staff with flex time, where they can document their hours that they work beyond contract hours. And then beyond that would be days that we need to make up for staff and probably students. If we get over 10 days like we did in school year 19.
Hopefully
Yeah.
never get to that.
It's been a while since we had one.
It really has. We have been through a lot in 5 years, so. But that is my summary of all of the changes. Negotiating team, any other points you want to throw out there?
And I think it was, we were able to compensate teachers to show our appreciation for what they've been doing for us. So I think it was beneficial.
And on the e-learning part, we worded it so that now it's what that's going to look like is going to be discussed with leadership and Corey and I, and we'll have a meeting here soon with leadership to discuss what it's going to look like in elementary, what it's going to look like in the high school. And again, having those 2 snow days will allow for, hey, we've already had one, you know, the next one's going to be this, and then make sure the iPads are in the students' hands when they go home, you know, we can plan accordingly, so.
I guess the only thing I can have to say is, Mr. Han, I expected it to be a longer, kind of a longer process. Mr. Hanson came through with a logical approach and realistic asks, and I think that went well for you guys.
That's awesome.
It really was the most pleasant experience that I've had negotiating with any unit at any district at this point, to just be able to sit down as peers, and everybody's got where they want to go and work to get there together. So
Awesome.
Yeah, in the very beginning, he and I met to just not talk about any language, but just philosophy. And we both agreed that we want it to be, we want this to be a landing spot for teachers, not where they come and get experience and move on to someplace else. So, so we kind of formed that philosophy, and then it went from there. So yeah, he was great to work with. So.
Yeah, that was another thing too. We had kind of met and kind of and went through, you know, what do we expect from the school? And you know, a lot of the same things were Mr. Hanson's, what he wanted, you know, I think. Like Davey said, he wanted to be a landing spot for the teachers. We want to keep our teachers that we have, and we don't want to lose their skills. So I thought that was good too.
It's nice when everybody's on the same page.
Yeah, for sure.
Awesome. Bradley, the items on Schedule C, you know, for example, like golf, is there a reason why we have golf on there?
the golf
Or keep
actually
it on there?
continues to exist in the LPAC as a thing that we could do. There is no golf team at this time, and I don't know that there's any scuttle about adding it back, but the contract is in place in the event that it happens.
Okay,
So,
And I'll mention that you'll notice in the 2 additions was
Oh, yeah.
B baseball and B softball. That's basically JV for both. Never had to worry about that last year. We had to add a June, or the LPAC chose to add the JV. We kind of unilaterally made it cut right in half between the junior high and the varsity. So that's why it's 7 units. And so that is one of the positions that was added to it. Not that we actually need it at this point. We don't know. It's all based on numbers, but we wanted it in there so it's consistent. So.
yeah, one of the things with Schedule C is that if the need isn't there for the position, we aren't gonna fill it.
Right.
And if there isn't anybody that's willing to do it, then we're not gonna do it. So, but the contract lays out the framework for if we do it, this is what it's gonna be.
Yeah.
So,
Similar to B and C track, we discontinued that a couple years ago. Same with golf. So
Any other questions for Bradley?
I see a grammatical error. I don't know
What?
if one of the other is-
Bradley.
Sorry.
where is it?
Under the leave of absence sub 5, a teacher returning from maternity reduction. You shall be reemployment in a position for which she is licensed.
what page again?
On page 13. I don't know. I'm reading other people's stuff, it's not mine.
Oh, yeah. Subdivision 5.
And it probably would have been 6 years ago that they tried to remove gender from the language.
Right.
And it's just been hanging out in there ever since.
I wouldn't say anything, but it also said page 3, so that's why. It's like,
Mhm.
I was trying to look at the other spots and see how we were,
On
what we were
subdivision three,
choosing
it
to
says
put in
her
for her.
position.
Yeah, there's a her.
Well,
But that's
a
specifically
teacher,
referencing
yeah.
a pregnant teacher. Yeah.
I didn't see any other ones.
No, I mean, I was trying to look for an example where we did it right and see how we chose to word it and try to be parallel.
Well, right above it, his and her.
Any other questions? Comments? If not,
You guys don't have to vote on that again, do you?
That's sarcasm. I almost didn't say anything, 'cause I was wondering. that.
yeah,
Well, so pending,
Hold on.
motion pending with that correction.
Are we all in favor? Aye. Opposed? Motion passes. Consider the approval of Lyle Band and Choir students from Southland on the Disney trip, March 2023.
All right, so the music teachers came to me 2 weeks ago about an idea that they ran across with Southland, so I'm gonna ask them to explain because they'll do a better job than me. But about an idea for not this spring, but the spring of 2023.
So every 4 years, Southland goes to Florida to perform at Disney. Spend a few days in the park and do a clinic at Disney for band and choir. In 20, whatever year that was, last time they went.
18.
Yeah, it's been
Yes.
2019.
19, yes.
It's nice that they got to go.
They had joined with Leroy because they have a larger group, but not big enough to like get the next bracket of discounts kind of thing. And Leroy has gotten larger now, so then they're over the limit. And so they were looking for another school to join with. And so we said we would be more than happy to go with. One thing, we'd be performing at Disney and at Universal. So it'd be a couple different performances as well as a workshop at each place as well. So more educational experiences, I guess, as well as a couple days in each park and a day at the beach.
Fun.
And then they also I asked them to write up, and they did a good job of this, of being that this is in 2 years, right? Well, less than 2 years. The requirements, they have to be in good standing. They have to be in choir the full year. So just to clarify, that would be all of next year.
Right. it'd
Okay,
have to be
that doesn't-
like Fall.
Okay.
next year. September next year, they'd have to start.
Um,
choir again.
Good standing, must not have any major demerits on their behavioral record. And then the one after that, if that were to continue, very similar, they would have to be in band or choir the full year before the trip and the year of the trip. So this is another huge incentive for the students, to continue to grow these two programs
For sure.
in the district. So
So what kind of performances do they do? Like, is it,
So I actually
Like-
went on this trip when I was in high school.
Okay.
At Southland. That's where I live so much.
yeah,
So the people that go have an extra rehearsal, either during a study hall or after school, or whatever, to learn the music. And then when I went, it was at one of the Disney parks. I don't remember which one it was. They have like this big stage. And we set up there and performed. I think it was either 3 or 4 songs.
is it just you or do you join in with other
Just our band.
band? Okay.
Yep.
Okay.
And with performing at Universal for this next one as well, I'm not sure how they do performances there, because I've only ever done it at Disney, but
Oh, fun.
So
So it'd be like 3 separate groups. It's like Leroy, Southland and Lyle, or do they all get together at?
well,
Leroy.
Leroy is gonna go on their own, so they wouldn't be with us. So just be Southland and Lyle. And we would be together, so like the band programs from both places would be one group that performs. And then both schools choir programs would be one group that performs.
So there'd be some- Yeah.
So what grades would qualify to go then?
9, 12.
9, 12, 9, 12.
So if it gets approved and we keep doing it, every high schooler will have a chance sometime in their career, high school career to go.
So
If that
for
makes
them,
sense. So it's on a 4-year rotation. So it'll happen next school year and then in 4 years.
do you bus there, fly there?
Flying.
Fly. Ooh.
Yep.
and
Great.
the
I called it her.
the cost, you have written down $1,800 per person. So with our
That's
fundraising,
estimate, yeah.
that's an estimate. And so a lot of the stuff that they are, we just figure out the fundraising mechanism, some of it would be individual, but also some of it would be as a whole too. And obviously the candles would be another option that could go towards this if it. So. So,
That's awesome. Super exciting.
It'd be fun for
Yeah.
our group. Be
Thanks, great.
Fun to
Yeah.
get together with a bigger. bigger group
Absolutely.
and
That's the
play.
other thing
Yeah.
too, is there's a lot more performance opportunities with our groups being, our school is small, so our groups can only get so big. Especially with like voicing and instrumentation, being with another school and having that many kids, you actually have a person on every part. So it actually sounds like a whole.
Was there a contract that you would sign with Southland to guarantee that I would pay for them, like, not to go through? What if they also had a big surge? How many kids does it take for them to move to the next level where they don't need another school?
it's a very good
Or
question.
worse, what's the cap that Leroy got to where Leroy is doing it without them now?
Right.
That's what I'm saying. Like,
Yeah,
what if they
where
get
they
to that and they're
got
like,
bumped,
well, we
yeah.
don't really need you guys anymore, and now all of these kids in your guys' hopes are up there.
Or if we get too big where we can't do it
go.
with them,
Yeah.
because we put them over the cap.
I love it though. I mean, it's
Mhm.
awesome. I think it's great for the program, for the kids, for you guys.
If we were doing it right now, how many kids would go?
Well, based on numbers this year, I've got 16 and I've got 12, so not many.
But it would be
Hopefully
more.
next year there'd be a lot more.
Yeah.
Yeah.
And a plus is that it's both band and choir, so, they're not competing against each other for this, because to some kids, they may choose one over the other just for this trip,
Yeah.
so they don't have to anymore, so.
Motion to approve.
Krista, is there a second? Chad, all those in favor?
Hi.
Aye.
I
Opposed? Motion passes. Item C, consider updates for the safe learning plan.
More of an informational tonight. I sent home a letter, a week and a half ago to families that, hey, the board approved that we would move to a mask mandate for 3 weeks if we got to 15. Last week, I believe it got to 11. But that was at the tail end of where some students, they were returning. As of this afternoon, we were at 6.
We're
And so,
surging.
so across the state, Minnesota and Michigan are the 2 hotspots. But we have been holding steady. The Department of Ed is sending parents an email. I don't know what this is going to, what this is going to provoke across the state, because we've already had issues, not here thankfully, but across the state with some highly contested debates over masks and other things, but couple of but the mitigation efforts as far as, washing hands, keeping their distance, all that stuff. It's still ongoing, and there are a few grades who are under a mask mandate right now, just due to the number of kids, because they're close contacts, but across the board, we dropped down to 6, so we're fairly good right now, so.
All right. Item D, consider the approval of bids for snow removal and van bus washing.
So just added to the last page is a bid we received for snow removal, van washing. So that is for this school year.
And I think I ask this every year, but how does this compare to
It's funny you should ask that, because I just looked it up.
last year?
The snow removal was $85 per hour last year. And the van and bus is the same rate.
Questions on that?
I'll make a motion to accept.
Carl, is there a second? Kelly, all those in favor?
Aye.
Opposed? Motion passes. School board member comments.
Say the Barnes program this year was wonderful.
I'm sorry. What was that?
The veterans.
Oh, thank you.
program was
Okay,
wonderful.
thank you. I can't hear well anyway.
Is it Temple?
I was so
Temple
proud
meeting?
of all of the students, because it was a colorful program, and all of the students were so well behaved, and that was a big
Oh,
ask
yeah.
for some of these kids
Yeah.
that have issues staying still in any way. And it was just so impressive. And program itself was really good, and they all sang their hearts out. And I mean, it was awesome.
Yeah,
It was just a great.
I heard a lot of good things too from
Of
people,
the
a lot of.
students and the staff. I was just very proud of everyone.
That's
It was
awesome.
awesome.
And as a veteran, I wasn't there, but I've heard some great comments too. And the last few years, we haven't had the opportunity to do a lot of the music singing. So kudos to you too for your training of the students and work with them so that they could play their instruments. Did they play a band? Okay, so as a veteran, that means a lot. And I put Corey on the spot because I told her, she's like, what am I gonna give a speech on? I'm like, well, you came from a military family, so speak of your experience. So she did, so.
Good.
You got a little teary a couple of times. It was very good.
I just would like to thank you guys too for bringing this opportunity for the kids. So it's super exciting. I think we're really happy when we see new opportunities for our students. So it's a great thing. So thank you for that. Yep. Yep. Anybody else? Oh, I had one more thing.
Too bad we,
Sorry.
Your comment period is expired.
So you were talking about some of the upcoming events, and I know we had talked about the food drive too.
Yeah.
Is there a way that some of that could maybe get put on Facebook while it's going on? I mean, I'm
Yeah, I didn't get
terrible
anything,
at,
I'll be
like-
honest.
And I didn't know about the food
I
drive,
know.
and I know, I mean, you do an awesome job of putting that in your announcements and stuff like
Yeah,
that.
so it did go out in like newsletters
Yep.
that I put out. I'll be really honest. A lot of the stuff that goes on Facebook is coming for me, and when I get home, I'm exhausted.
No, I know,
And so,
and I'm not asking you.
no,
to-
I
to
know,
do
but
it,
those things absolutely can. I didn't put it on because
And
Yeah.
Yeah, no, I totally get that.
Yeah.
I don't know if there's a way
Do you
to
ever
do
send
that.
out any sort of announcements and, as the high school leadership, disseminate that information to your students, not just Corey's students?
I do not personally, but I know that the yearbook class does their own yearbook or their own thing
You
that
could
puts it
start
out
doing
there.
that with some of those information.
Well, they put it out on the website. They have their own website part of that. So I don't know if we probably
That
don't,
wasn't on there.
we probably don't
Yeah,
share
wasn't
that
on there.
information with them to put
Right.
that out there because
Cause I just feel a little bit just, cause I have a high schooler and I know, like, I get it in a perfect world. We'd love those kids to come home and say, hey, mom, there's a food drive going on at school,
Right.
but it
Yeah.
doesn't.
Yeah, right.
It doesn't.
I know.
More than the day of,
I know, right?
you know.
I know.
yeah, class.
So, I mean, I'm not suggesting anything, but just maybe something we can
Yep,
talk
put it out
about and
there.
look at for, moving forward so that,
Absolutely.
because, I know there's a lot of people that would support that stuff. But just kind of miss the opportunity. So anyway,
We're going to have more.
I know. and I'm
There will
so
be more.
excited. I know. I'm excited about that. So that's it for me. So Carl, is
I'll make the motion to adjourn the meeting.
there a second? All in favor?
This section
Aye.
will always be the.
Opposed?
I totally want this to last
Meeting
forever.
adjourned at 7:03.
Happy Thanksgiving, everyone.
Templeton meet.
Motion for the contract.
Templeton meet?
Oh, that was.
Temple